I am 26 years old working as a marketing coordinator in Portland, Oregon. My life felt pretty normal until last month, when everything I thought I knew about my family came crashing down. I live in a small studio apartment near downtown, maintain a steady job, and generally mind my own business. My dad divorced my mom when I was 15 and remarried 5 years ago to Angela, who brought her daughter, Madison, into our lives. Madison is in her early 30s with two kids under 5 years old. I genuinely thought our blended family was doing okay, despite some minor tensions here and there until that Saturday morning phone call that changed absolutely everything. Before I dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy family stories like this one. Now let me tell you about the phone call that exposed secrets I never saw coming. That Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I was in my kitchen preparing breakfast when my phone rang. My dad's voice sounded strained and urgent, which immediately caught my attention because he typically maintained a calm demeanor regardless of circumstances. "Violet, honey, I need a huge favor from you," he said without his usual pleasantries. His tone carried a weight that made me pause mid-pour of my coffee. He explained that Madison was experiencing a medical emergency involving kidney stones and required immediate hospitalization for at least 3 days. The doctors were concerned about potential complications and wanted to monitor her closely. Meanwhile, Angela was attending a crucial business conference in Seattle and could not return immediately without jeopardizing her career prospects. The favor he needed was for me to babysit Madison's two children, Tyler, who just turned 4, and Emma, who was barely 2 years old. I had never taken care of children this young for an extended period, and the responsibility felt overwhelming. My initial concerns were practical and reasonable. I explained that I had never babysat kids this young and lacked experience with toddlers. Additionally, I worked full-time and had already made weekend plans with my girlfriend Sarah that I could not easily cancel. We had planned to visit the art museum and attend a concert that evening. As I voiced these hesitations, my dad became increasingly persistent. "Family helps family, Violet," he said in a tone that suggested my concerns were selfish rather than legitimate. "Madison really needs support right now, and you are the only person we can trust with the kids." I could not help but think about previous incidents where I had helped Madison without receiving so much as a thank you. She had a pattern of treating me like hired help rather than family expecting assistance while showing little appreciation. There was the time I spent my entire weekend helping her move apartments, only to have her complain about how I packed her dishes. Another time, I loaned her my car for a week when hers broke down, and she returned it nearly empty of gas without acknowledging the inconvenience. When I continued to express reluctance, my dad's tone shifted noticeably colder. "I am disappointed in your attitude, Violet. I thought I raised you to be more caring and responsible." This comment stung because I prided myself on being a caring person. However, I also recognized the difference between being caring and being taken advantage of. Our blended family dynamics had been challenging from the beginning, though I had tried to remain optimistic about building relationships with my new family members. When my dad first announced his engagement to Angela 5 years ago, I felt genuinely excited about potentially having a sister figure in Madison. I imagined we might develop a close bond sharing experiences and supporting each other through life's challenges. However, those early hopes quickly faded as Madison's entitled behavior became apparent. Madison had a troubling pattern of treating my dad like a personal ATM, constantly requesting financial assistance while showing little effort toward independence. She had borrowed his car multiple times without asking permission, sometimes keeping it for days while he relied on public transportation. When her relationships failed, which happened twice during the 5 years my dad was married to Angela, Madison would move back into their home, with her children disrupting their household and adding significant financial strain. Angela consistently enabled Madison's dependency, always making excuses for her daughter's irresponsible behavior. She would tell my dad that Madison was going through a hard time or just needed a little extra support whenever Madison made unreasonable demands. My dad, caught in the middle between his wife and his desire to maintain peace in the household, often gave in to their requests rather than setting appropriate boundaries. The conversation about babysitting escalated quickly when I firmly stated that I could not help that weekend. My dad then revealed details about the financial support he had been providing me, including $200 monthly toward my student loans assistance with car insurance and occasional help with rent when my hours were reduced at work. Maybe it is time you learn complete independence since family loyalty does not seem important to you, he said coldly. The ultimatum was clear: babysit Madison's children or lose the financial support that helped me maintain my current standard of living. I was shocked by this manipulation tactic. Using financial assistance as leverage to force compliance felt fundamentally wrong and contrary to the values my dad had taught me growing up. The call ended abruptly when he hung up, leaving me hurt, confused, and questioning everything about our relationship. I spent that weekend with my girlfriend Sarah, trying to process what had happened. Sarah provided an outside perspective that helped me recognize the manipulation tactics my family was employing. She pointed out that healthy family relationships involved mutual respect and consideration, not threats and ultimatums. Her support helped me realize that I needed to examine the broader patterns of behavior within my blended family, rather than dismissing this incident as an isolated occurrence. Monday evening after work, I decided to drive to my dad's house to have a face-to-face conversation about the weekend's events. I needed to understand why our relationship had deteriorated so quickly and whether there was a path forward that maintained my dignity while preserving family connections. When I arrived, I noticed Madison's car parked in the driveway, which struck me as odd since she was supposedly still hospitalized with serious kidney stone complications. I used the spare key my dad had given me years earlier and walked into the living room, where I discovered Madison sitting comfortably on the couch watching television while her children played nearby. Madison looked up casually and said, "Oh, hey, Violet. I did not expect you to stop by today." Her relaxed demeanor and obvious good health contradicted everything I had been told about her medical emergency. When I asked about her condition, Madison admitted without any apparent shame that the kidney stones had turned out to be just minor pain, and she had been discharged from the hospital Sunday morning. She seemed genuinely surprised that no one had called to update me about this significant change in circumstances. As we continued talking, the real reason for the weekend's drama emerged. Madison revealed that she had planned a romantic getaway to Las Vegas with her new boyfriend, Derek, and needed a convenient childcare excuse that would not make her appear irresponsible as a mother. The medical emergency story provided the perfect cover for her weekend plans. Angela had actually returned from her business conference on Sunday and knew the truth about Madison's situation. My dad had also been informed by Sunday evening that Madison was fine and back home. However, none of the 3 family members had bothered to call me back or acknowledge that I had been deceived about the entire situation. When my dad arrived home from work, I confronted him about the lies and manipulation that had characterized the entire weekend. He immediately became defensive, arguing that Madison needed a break. She is a single mother dealing with a lot of stress. He seemed unable to acknowledge that deceiving me was wrong, regardless of the underlying motivations. I questioned why Madison's needs consistently took priority over mine, and why my concerns were always dismissed as selfish or unreasonable. During this heated discussion, my dad let slip information about financial support he had been providing to this family that went far beyond what I had previously understood. When I demanded transparency about these family finances, he became reluctant to provide details, but hinted at a much larger financial picture that I had never been told about. Madison, overhearing our conversation, interrupted to tell me I should mind my own business when it came to family financial matters. Angela arrived home shortly after, and our discussion turned into a tense family meeting where everyone seemed united against my requests for honesty and transparency. The atmosphere became so hostile that I threatened to leave permanently unless someone was willing to have an honest conversation about what was really happening in this family. Faced with my ultimatum, my dad finally revealed information that shocked me to my core. Madison owed him $43,000 in various loans and debts that had accumulated over the past 5 years. The list was extensive and troubling: $15,000 for a failed business venture selling handmade jewelry online, $12,000 in divorce attorney fees when her second marriage ended, $8,000 in car payments when she could not maintain employment, and another $8,000 in miscellaneous debts ranging from credit card payments to emergency medical bills. Most shocking of all, Madison had never made a single payment toward any of these loans. There was no repayment plan, no acknowledgement of the debt, and no apparent intention to ever pay back the money. Angela had been pressuring my dad to forgive the entire amount, completely arguing that families should support each other without keeping score. As a result of this financial drain, my dad's retirement fund had been significantly depleted. Money he had saved for his golden years was gone, replaced by a pile of debt from someone who showed no responsibility or gratitude. The stress of this financial burden was affecting his health, though he had hidden this from me completely. But the financial revelations did not stop there. I learned about my grandmother Dorothy's inheritance money that should have come to me when she passed away 2 years earlier. My dad's mother had left specific instructions in her will that her estate should be divided equally between my dad and his children, which included me as her only grandchild. The inheritance that should have come to me totaled $25,000, a substantial amount that would have allowed me to pay off my student loans and establish a solid emergency fund. However, Angela had convinced my dad to redistribute this money to help solve Madison's financial crisis. Legal documents showed Angela as a witness and Madison as the beneficiary of what was called a family emergency fund. I had never been consulted about this decision, never informed that my inheritance existed, and never given the opportunity to decide how my grandmother's final gift should be used. The money had simply been transferred to Madison, who used it to pay for her Las Vegas vacation and other personal expenses, rather than addressing her mounting debts. Madison, perhaps realizing that the truth was finally coming out, admitted to an even bigger scheme. She had been planning to ask my dad to forgive all of her debts completely, effectively, erasing $43,000 of financial obligation with no consequences. Angela had been researching my dad's life insurance policies and retirement accounts, apparently working toward eliminating me from his financial future entirely. Phone records that my dad reluctantly showed me revealed multiple conversations between Angela and Madison where they discussed strategies for manipulating him into making financial decisions that benefited Madison at my expense. They had been planning this for months, treating my dad's generosity and my inheritance as resources to be exploited rather than gifts to be appreciated. My dad appeared genuinely shocked to learn about the depth of the planning that had gone into these financial manipulations. He had thought he was helping his stepdaughter through temporary difficulties, not enabling a long-term plan to drain his resources while cutting out his biological daughter. Instead of responding with the emotional outburst that everyone seemed to expect, I became calm and calculating. I requested copies of all relevant financial documents immediately, including loan agreements, inheritance paperwork, and bank records, showing the transfers of my grandmother's money. I calmly explained the potential legal consequences of what had transpired, including the possibility of elder financial abuse charges if my dad had been coerced or manipulated into making financial decisions against his better judgment. I mentioned that I planned to consult with an attorney the following morning to understand my options for recovering my stolen inheritance. The atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically when everyone realized that I was not going to simply accept what had happened and move on. Legal action was a real possibility, and the consequences could be severe for everyone involved in the deception. Tuesday morning, I followed through on my threat and consulted with an attorney who specialized in family financial disputes and inheritance law. I learned that I had legitimate grounds for legal action and that the statute of limitations had not expired for recovering my grandmother's money. The attorney explained that what had happened constituted inheritance theft, particularly since I had been deliberately kept in the dark about the existence of the inheritance and had no opportunity to consent to its redistribution. Additionally, if my dad had been manipulated or coerced into making these financial decisions, there could be grounds for elder financial abuse charges against Angela and Madison. When I shared this information with my dad later that day, he panicked about the potential legal consequences and immediately agreed to repay my full inheritance amount. He also committed to requiring Madison to create a formal repayment plan for all of her outstanding loans, with a structured 5-year schedule and clear consequences for missed payments. Angela was forced to return to full-time employment as she had been between positions for most of the past year while living off my dad's income. This change significantly reduced her influence over family financial decisions and gave my dad some breathing room to reassess their relationship dynamics. My dad also agreed to establish a separate bank account with limited access for Angela, ensuring that future financial decisions would require his explicit consent. This was a significant step toward protecting his remaining retirement funds and preventing further financial manipulation. I wrote a formal letter outlining the conditions for maintaining any relationship going forward. These included an end to financial support requests without written agreements and clear repayment terms, a requirement for Madison to acknowledge her manipulation and provide a genuine apology for her behavior, respect for my position as my dad's biological daughter, an equal consideration of my needs and opinions, and a commitment from my dad to attend family counseling to address his enabling behaviors and learn to set appropriate boundaries. The inheritance money once returned to me was used wisely to pay off my student loans completely and establish a substantial emergency fund. This financial independence felt liberating after years of accepting help that apparently came with hidden strings and expectations. I also used this experience to build a stronger relationship with my girlfriend Sarah, who had supported me throughout this crisis without judgment or agenda. Her unconditional support helped me recognize what healthy family relationships should look like and gave me the courage to demand better treatment from my biological family. The experience prompted me to establish better boundaries in all areas of my life, including my career. I focused on advancement opportunities and skill development, reducing my dependence on external financial support and building confidence in my ability to handle life's challenges independently. Creating what I began calling my chosen family, with close friends who genuinely cared about my well-being, became a priority. These relationships provided the emotional support and validation that I had been seeking from my biological family without the manipulation and drama that seemed to characterize those connections. 6 months after these events, my dad has made consistent effort in family counseling and appears to be learning how to set appropriate boundaries with Angela and Madison. Progress has been slow, but there have been noticeable improvements in how he handles requests for financial assistance and emotional manipulation. Madison has struggled with the structured repayment plan, but has been honoring it so far, perhaps motivated by the knowledge that legal action remains a possibility if she defaults. Her attitude toward me has improved somewhat, though I remain cautious about trusting her motivations. Angela maintains distance from me, and our relationship has settled into something cordial but limited. She seems to understand that her previous level of influence over family decisions is no longer acceptable, though I suspect she resents the changes that have been implemented. Most importantly, I have learned to trust my instincts about family manipulation and to speak up when something feels wrong, rather than accepting mistreatment in the name of keeping peace. This experience taught me that protecting yourself sometimes means protecting the people you love from their worst impulses. The difference between healthy support and enabling behavior became crystal clear through this experience. True family support helps people grow and become independent, while enabling allows destructive patterns to continue indefinitely at everyone's expense. Setting and maintaining boundaries has not destroyed my family relationships as I once feared it might. Instead, it has created space for more honest and respectful interactions with the people who are willing to treat me appropriately. Sometimes protecting yourself means protecting the people you love from their worst impulses. That is a lesson that took 26 years to learn, but it has changed everything about how I show up in this world. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-respect? What boundaries have you had to set with family members who were taking advantage of your kindness? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Please like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more real family stories, and share this with anyone who might need to hear that it is okay to stand up for yourself, even when it involves family. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you find the courage to protect your own peace and well-being. Remember that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care, not manipulation and obligation.